Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Andrea. Today I'm sharing 3 everyday farmhouse DIYs that are perfect for spring and summer. So let's get started. This DIY is a black and white checkered mason jar sign filled with lavender. I'm starting with this galvanized mason jar from Dollar Tree, and I'll be covering it up with this black and white buffalo check vinyl, also from Dollar Tree. I'm tracing the mason jar sign onto the vinyl, then cutting it out. I only made the vinyl cover the bottom section of the mason jar, so to cover the top section, I'm using cardboard. I'm tracing out the top part of the jar onto the cardboard, then cutting it out. Now I'm going to paint the cardboard piece with this silver paint from Dollar Tree. I'm hot gluing the silver cardboard section to the top of the mason jar. I have this burlap ribbon and I'm cutting it in half the long ways to make it thinner. I'm folding the 2 ends of the ribbon together toward the center, then hot gluing it in place. I'm pinching the center together to form a bow, then adding dots of hot glue to hold it together. Now I'm cutting 2 more sections of ribbon for the tails of the bow. I'm putting each of them at a diagonal angle underneath the main part of the bow, then hot gluing them down. I'm taking some twine and wrapping it around the center of the bow to give it a more finished look. Then I'm hot gluing the bow over top of the ribbon tails. This sign was part of the Valentine's collection at Dollar Tree, and for this DIY, I'm going to use the back of the sign. I'm starting by painting it white with this white acrylic paint from Dollar Tree. I did a couple of coats, but it doesn't need to be perfect because we're going to add some distressing to it. Next, I have this paint in the shade Country Twill from Plaid, and I'm dry brushing it over top of the white paint to give some dimension. I'm also adding some burnt umber over top and going back in with the white to blend everything together and create a more rustic wood look. I'm cutting off some pieces of this bunch of lavender, and these will go inside the mason jar. I laid the mason jar down on the sign and I'm arranging the lavender behind the jar to get an idea of where I want the lavender to go and how much I want to use. Now that I have the lavender where I want it, it's time to hot glue them all in place. The best way I found to get the mason jar to stick to the sign over top of all the lavender was to put a bunch of hot glue at the bottom of the lavender pieces, then press the mason jar on top. I also added some glue to the sign underneath the bottom of the jar to hold it in place. To hang up my sign, I'm stringing twine through the 2 holes at the top. Today's video is part of the Farm Fresh and Fabulous Challenge, hosted by Chantel with Crafty Hints and co-hosted by Brenda from Rustic and Lace DIY and Amanda from 6 Kids and a Glue Gun. This playlist is filled with lots of amazing farmhouse DIYs, so make sure to click the link in my description box and check it out. This DIY is a pretty everyday farmhouse piece featuring an upcycled glass jar. I'm starting with this pasta sauce jar I cleaned out, and I'm painting it with this white chalk paint from Plaid. Here's what the jar looks like, all covered in the white paint. Now I'm taking this sanding block and lightly taking off some of the paint in a few sections to distress it a bit and give it more of a farmhouse look. The backdrop to this DIY is this cutting board from Dollar Tree, which was in the Easter section. I'm covering up the carrot part with the black and white checkered vinyl from Dollar Tree. I cut out a rectangle the same size as the white paper on the cutting board, and I'm sticking it right over top. Most of this is going to be covered up by the jar, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't lay completely flat or look perfect. Now to attach the jar to the cutting board sign, I'm using a mixture of E6000 and hot glue. And this worked really well. The jar feels really secure on this cutting board. I have these purple and pale yellow flowers from Dollar Tree, and I'm adding them inside the jar. I do advise doing this next part before gluing the jar to the sign, but I'm taking some twine and wrapping it around the top of the jar. I'm wrapping it around a few times and making it look not so perfect for that farmhouse look. I'm taking another piece of twine and making a bow to glue to the front. This DIY is a farmhouse decor piece in the shape of a little house. I'm using this house shape from Dollar Tree, and I'm painting it white with acrylic paint. This did take a couple of coats to get it all covered. I'm going to draw horizontal lines across the front of the house, so I'm measuring out 5 equal sections with my ruler and marking it with a pencil. Then I'm drawing the lines across with a black fine liner. Now I'm taking twine and wrapping it around the house several times and tying it in the back. I'm taking another piece of twine and tying it into a bow and hot gluing it to the left side of the house. And to finish it off, I'm adding a piece of lavender along with 2 pieces of greenery on the right side of the house. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more fun, easy DIYs. And I'll see you next time.